I'd like to call this meeting to order. Gary, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Determination of quorum.
Madam President, all 5 directors are here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Public comment. Members of the public may address the board at this time with regard to matters within the board's jurisdiction.
Do we need to approve the agenda?
Approve the agenda.
Oh, you're right. Motion for approval of agenda. Jumped ahead of myself.
Move that we approve the agenda.
Wait, we have a
Second.
couple of slight modifications. General Manager.
On item number 6, first bullet,
Yes.
should read approved minutes of the October 19th, 2016 special meeting. We haven't met on November 19th yet.
That's the future thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And that will be it. Do I have a motion?
Mike was making it.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. With correction, approved. Now, public comment. Members of the public may address the board at this time with regard to matters within the board's jurisdiction that are not listed on the agenda. State law prohibits the board of directors from discussing or taking action on items not included on the agenda. Members of the public will have the opportunity for public comment on any item listed on the agenda when it is addressed on the agenda. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less.
El Marquez, Sunfair Community, Joshua Tree. Real quick question I'd like to address to the chairperson of the board. If you have a closed session item, when is it proper to make public comment on that? Is it just before the item, or should we make comment at public comment period?
Yeah, it's a uniform rule. It applies to anything, Madam Chairman. Open or closed.
Pardon me?
You can comment on either one.
At either time?
It's a uniform rule.
Okay. Okay, I'll wait on that. Before you go to closed session, I'll make a public comment. I would like to say, on the recharge award for the recharge district for the extension of the pipeline from the Mojave or Morongo pipeline, it was stated back prior to 2010 that the cost of the pipeline extension would be approximately $4 million, and then it went up to $6 million, then it went up to $8 million, and then at the last, as I understand it, the cost was $9 million, approximately $200,000, $600,000, I don't know. As I stated before, that most of these funds that were received as grants were through Mojave Water Agency. And I haven't heard any other explanation that these funds came through Department of Water Resources or directly from them. And I'd like to get a clarification on that, if, where we actually got this $6 or $8 million in grant funds. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Okay. Yeah, before I close that out, you missed the meeting where we detailed that. You would have enjoyed that if you go to the last meeting notes. Consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be adopted in total by one action of the Board of Directors unless any board member or any individual or organization interested in one or more consent calendar items wishes to be heard.
I move the consent calendar, making the change that Kurt mentioned. The minutes are of October.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'll second that.
Aye.
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 Aye. Consent calendar approved. Item 7.
It was a tough decision.
Joshua Basin Water District closure. Employee training, November 16th, 2016, from 11:18 to 3 p.m. I'd like to thank the GM for giving us this information and keep us informed on it. Any comments you'd like to make on that?
Sure. I just want to advise the board and the public that we're planning on some mandatory employee training on November 16th, and In order to do that, it's a 3-hour session, which will be taught by one of our lawyers from our personnel firm down in LA. And so in order to complete that mandatory training, we need to close the office from 11 to 12 because the attorney's available from 12 to 3 so that we can comply with lunch hour requirements for employees. So basically the current, we've identified some gaps in our current training program, and we're going to address those deficiencies in a formal manner. And they include such topics as workplace conduct, non-discrimination, anti-harassment, bullying, violence in the workplace, and building teamwork. So originally, I had thought that the board needed to approve that, but in reviewing my analysis of the Articles 4.04 and 4.04.10, my legal counsel recommends that I have the authority to close the office. However, if the board wants to approve that or disapprove it, then we can put it on the next meeting agenda item, which will be before November 16th. And you can take action on it at that time. Or if it's okay with you, you have any questions, it'll give us time to get it out to the newspaper and radio station.
Any questions or concerns?
Actually, the next board meeting would be on the 16th.
Right, but we're going to tonight also discuss a special board meeting for union negotiations.
Isn't that going to be fun? Okay, back
Surprise!
to that. Any concerns, questions on the training?
Is this the entire staff?
Yes, including the general manager.
Moving right along.
I have nothing.
Well, gee, do we have a bullying problem? Or violence in the workplace?
I know.
That's, I understand this is things that have to happen. That's all.
Any public comment? Seeing none, I don't think the board, anyone on the board have any issue with that at all?
No.
Seeing none, very, very good. Thank you. There again, thank you for keeping us informed. Item 8, proposal to update surplus property procedures. Recommend that the board direct the general manager to update the current procedure and to bring the procedure back to the board for approval. Additionally, that the board direct the general manager to dispose of the current inventory of surplus computers.
So, my recommendation is twofold, that you authorize the general manager working with the staff to bring back an updated surplus property procedure. The current procedure is about 15 or 20 years old. And a couple years ago, we tried surplusing equipment, and it was extremely time consuming for staff to go through the procedures currently written. And I want to use the current surplus computers as an example of why I think this needs to be done. So the board approved the acquisition of new computers and monitors in June, and we replaced 6-year-old computers and 10-year-old monitors. We received the replacements on July 8th, and we had them installed by August 22nd. And I want to take a moment to point out that that was a 6-week installation that was done internally, led by Keith. And by doing it internally, we did not have to pay $12,000 to the computer company for installation of the equipment, the software programs, and making sure that everything worked. And some of the installations were done on the weekend so that we didn't interfere with customer service and accounting, et cetera. So now we have the surplus computers, and we wanted to look at surplusing them. So first we had to establish the value of the computers and the monitors. And staff began the task of estimating the total price by going online and checking out what comparable computers could sell for. Well, the computers that we have been totally wiped clean, and the operating system, which was licensed to the district on each computer, has been eliminated from those computers. So basically they're a box with a hard drive and a couple of flashing lights. and that's about it. So considering the fact that computers have no operating system and looking online for comparable aged equipment, we established a tentative price of $62.50 for each computer and monitor. Since the total value was more than $500, we decided that we'd sell it at auction. And we received 4 bids. The largest bid for all 12 monitors and computers was for $310, which came from a company in Mexico, which wanted us to mail the computers to them, even though the bid specifically stipulated that you'd have to come to the district and get them. So then I decided, you know, this is getting to be a lot of staff time for $310 worth of surplus equipment, so let's donate them. Well, the current surplus property donation, section 4.5, we had to, before we could recommend a nonprofit organization which to donate, we had to determine that the recipient would never sell the property for profit, section 4.5C. AngelView is interested in the computers, but they can't guarantee that they will never sell the computers. And so, under the existing procedures, we can't donate it to them. So we figured, okay, how about the Boys and Girls Club of Yucca Valley? But in section 4.5A, it says we can only donate to nonprofit organizations located in the district or who benefit the district. So I don't have a roster of the number of kids from Joshua Tree that participate in the Yucca Valley Boys and Girls Club, and I can't determine that there's a benefit to the district as currently written. So to be in compliance, I felt that we were stuck. So my recommendation is that you direct the general manager to update the surplus property procedures and bring the update to the board for approval, and we would consider modeling the updated procedures after the High Desert and the Mojave Water Agency procedures, which we've looked into. Second part of the recommendation is that you authorize the general manager to dispose of these items expeditiously, not waiting for me to come back with a revision of the surplus procedures, which at this point would be to donate half of them to AngelView and half of them to the Boys and Girls Club, since we've already contacted both nonprofits and they're both interested. So that's my recommendation on surplus property.
Thank you. I'll add to that the Finance Committee meeting, we went over this up one side and down the other. And the computers, old computers, really have very small value. And I think we definitely concurred with what Kurt is recommending.
I'll just piggyback on that. With the one offer to Mexico being from Cabo San Lucas, I think we should take the $310 and I'll be happy to deliver it.
You're looking for gas money.
I concur with your recommendation.
And yeah, on section 4.3, the surplus property trade-ins, I don't know what changes you're considering, but it has the authority exchange for or trade-in supplies with a value of $500 or less. I would definitely consider raising that value to be twice that or $750, even something, but definitely raise that value. And you know, hey, you could always dispose them at a silent auction like on our water day, and any proceeds go to the demonstration garden, or, you know. But also, too, then on section 4.5, C2, that the property not ever be sold or otherwise transferred for profit. If somebody gets it, strike that. I would say just strike that whole clause. I don't know what you guys came up with at your meeting or what Kurt is contemplating, but those are the couple things that I saw.
Thank you. I'd be interested in hearing exactly what the ins and outs of the other one are, but I think for the current property, I concur giving it to the Boys and Girls Club. Director Reynolds.
And AngelView.
And AngelView.
Well, gee whiz, why are we worried about $500–600 in the first place? In the board level, deal with it. If it was worth $500, you wouldn't even be bringing it to the board, right?
Right.
And so if it's worth $600, why don't we just devaluate it to $500 and let you just have a good time? I'd like to spend lots of extra time worrying about it.
Okay.
I like a practical man, and I will agree with you.
Any public comment?
Al Marquez, Sunfair Community. In the past, before 2008, these surplus computers and monitors were raffled to the ratepayers of the district. And it gave the people in the district a chance to purchase these computers, even though the ratepayers are the ones that paid for these computers. They should get a chance to purchase these computers if they're functional. Also, in the past, prior to 2012, I think it was, these computers and monitors were donated to the Boys and Girls Club at that time. And there was questions about why they were doing it, but that's no big deal. I think at this time that they should also give the ratepayers a chance to bid on these computers. And there's some of the ratepayers that might want these computers that are still functional. They should get a chance to bid on them. If not, if they don't bid on them, then go ahead and donate them to whatever organization that the board decides. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess my only comment would be that the amount of time that staff would spend on doing that would be more than anything that we would take in for the cost of it. So any other comments?
That would be my concern with that too, unfortunately, would be more staff
It was
time.
already listed, wasn't it? On eBay or what have you, and gave people an opportunity to buy it, and nobody bought them.
So do I have a motion?
I move that we direct the general manager to update the current procedure and to bring the procedure back to the board for approval. Additionally, that the board direct the general manager to dispose of the current inventory of surplus computers as in the staff report.
I second that. Aye.
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 So,
No trip to Cabo.
next time. Paving the district parking lot. Recommend that the board authorize the general manager to enter into a contract to repave the district office parking lot at a cost not to exceed $46,750, which includes the 10% contingency.
Okay, we also discussed this at the Finance Committee and briefly discussed it at the Water Resources and Operations Committee yesterday. But for those of you that weren't there and for the public, our main office parking lot's in poor condition and poses potential safety hazards for staff and the general public. And access at the two handicap parking spaces would also be improved if we repave the parking lot. Despite past attempts by operations to repair the various asphalt cracks, it continues to degrade. This parking lot is 29 years old. 5 companies were contacted for quotes. 3 responded. These include International Paving Services, Van Dyke Corporation, and AMS Paving out of Palm Desert. When we met with each company on site, we discussed several options to determine which process would meet our needs for cost and longevity. Each company provided a proposal for a complete renovation of the parking lot, and all 3 of the companies that came and looked at the site said this parking lot was not correctly installed when it was installed, and the best manner to take care of your problem is to repave the entire parking lot. 2 of the companies also provided a proposal for repairs only, and International Paving Services also provided an estimate for minimally repairing the cracks, but they were very clear in their recommendation to me when I met with them that these cracks will be back within 4 to 5 years. And they do not recommend the crack repair 5 years maybe listing of $12,000. The recommendation by all 3 companies was that we remove and replace the entire parking area, and the cost of the 3 bids is there for your review. I have an update to it. After our meeting yesterday, it was pointed out that there's a gap between, we had asked for quotes on the cracks in the parking lot, but there's a gap between the pavement and the concrete sidewalk all the way around the building. So we contacted AMS Paving today. So their crack repair and slurry, instead of $18,800, would be $20,200, which is still lower than IPS, and Van Dyke did not bid on that proposal. So we got a map from them, which I put on your, at your seats, which illustrates the general vicinity of where the cracks are that would be repaired, and it does include the cracks, or it's not so, well, the crack between the pavement and the concrete sidewalk, and it would also take down some of the bumps that are next to the sidewalk, within a foot of the sidewalk. And so my recommendation is that the board authorize a contract with AMS Paving not to exceed $42,500 with a 10% contingency. The reason I'm recommending $42,500, which is some $426 more than their bid, is that when we talked to them originally, it did not include replacement of the handicap parking signs out front. The handicap parking signs are out of compliance with code, and we haven't had any complaints, but if we're going to do the project, this is an opportunity to fix that problem. We would intend to close the office on probably a Friday, rather than having people and employees trying to get back and forth across the parking lot and into the building while the paving was going on. So a complete replacement is a complete replacement, and the crack repair and slurry is repairing the cracks, taking out a 1 foot on either side of the crack, cleaning it down, and then repaving that, and then slurrying the whole parking lot, putting in temporary striping. 60 to 90 days later, when it's cured, they'll come back in and put in permanent striping. And any questions you might have, I'm prepared to either answer them or pass them on to Seth.
I had one question. After our last discussion, I went out and kind of walked around the parking lot. We have several areas where there's not cracks, but there's bumps that are not actually right at that. Will this take care of all of the bumps in the parking lot?
No, it's just to repair the cracks, take place of the bumps. Take care of the bumps by replacing the entire parking lot.
Any other questions?
And let me also throw in longevity.
Yes.
Obviously, if you do it right, it's going to be a long time. One of the bidders said if you do the crack repair and slurry, it won't come back in your lifetime. And he was looking at me. 40 years, 20 years, who knows? So there's the length of time that it's going to last, and there you go.
And then there's your lifetime.
That's your lifetime, yeah. How long you're going to last. And of course, my other concern was liability with somebody walking out there and tripping. So that would take care of just one of these. Any questions for?
You want to give the public comment first, or?
No.
Okay. Now, I didn't attend those exciting finance committee meetings or the resources meetings. You guys said you discussed all this stuff.
Yeah.
What are, I would say, I would go with the AMS with the complete replacement, because there is a lot of humps and bumps and cracks and all kinds of stuff there. And so in their discussions of what they would do and how this would fix things, what are they using any permeable materials?
No.
So, and would any of this help with all the swamping we get, or that's a whole nother problem with all the vacant lot and stuff?
That's a whole nother problem with the county flood control system.
So we'll still swamp out in the big rains.
Yeah.
And let's see, they can really do it in one day?
That's what they say.
Did you guys ask that question? Were you?
Yes, we did ask that question.
Yeah.
And he did say that just what he said to you.
Yeah.
Any other comment on that?
I would say do it on Veterans Day. We will be closed. It's a federal municipal holiday for our kind of agencies, but not for a paving company.
Well, if we can get them here by
The 11th.
Yeah.
9 days, that'd
Yeah.
be
That's Friday.
great, but
That's all I had.
we're also closed on the day after Thanksgiving.
Everybody.
But not a paving
but-
company.
So remember, these are quotes based on working during the regular working week.
Yeah.
And they may be giving their employees off Veterans Day, and so that would increase the costs, so.
If they saw it as a holiday.
So one day they could actually remove all the old paving and, Mike, how do they do this kind of stuff? You've seen this done, right, Mike?
And that was one of my questions I was about to ask. It's a complete removal, a demo and complete removal of the asphalt? And in that quote, it's a proper removal and disposing of the asphalt within the EPA regulations?
Yes, and some of the ground asphalt we would take over and put in the yard for future repair work. The larger chunks that can't be ground down, they would be hauled off.
Okay. And did they, and their life expectancy of a complete removal, again, was?
I don't have the,
The actuarial data.
Longer than your lifetime.
Longer than your lifetime.
yeah, I don't have the answer to that.
All right, but they did offer a life expectancy of the slurry and a crack repair of 5 years.
No, that's one of them said, instead of cutting out the cracks a foot on each side, cleaning everything out and repaving it and rolling it, et cetera, they'll just sort of clean out the cracks and roll some asphalt in there, and that would last 4 to 5 years, and the cracks will be back. The other one, the crack repair and slurry, not the complete replacement, is the one that was categorized as lasting longer than your lifetime. And they were looking at me, not you. So, 30 years.
Well, the improper installation has lasted,
Yeah.
this building's
30
30
years.
years old,
All right.
so.
Well, in my world, I've done a whole lot of asphalt repair. And I've seen it last a long time. So, what are we looking at, $20-some-odd thousand for a good clean repair? Or $46,000 for a full replacement?
Right.
I guess that's a decision we have to make.
Director Johnson?
Yeah, we had a great time at the committee meetings talking about asphalt. Pretty well educated on this now. I will say this, that I think it's a lot of money, and I think we really seriously need to look at the facility as a whole, because we've got construction projects internally, now it's externally. It's just compounding. But I will note this, though, after leaving the meeting, in one of the handicap sections out there, there was 2 huge chunks of asphalt sticking up. And the fortunate part about it, there was nobody out there using it, but had there been someone with a walker or a cane or a wheelchair, it would have created a real issue. So we definitely need to address this evening in terms of a liability issue, if nothing else.
I think that what Victoria said, or her question about the bumps, and that they would not be taken care of unless you do the complete replacement, is really important, because to me, the biggest issue is liability. You have one lawsuit, somebody gets hurt out there, and it's going to cost more than it's going to cost to repair or to redo the parking lot. And it makes no sense in my mind to nickel and dime and leave yourself liable like that you need to do it right. And you need to make sure it's safe for all of our patrons and all of our employees. So that's my consideration.
Okay, we are now, did you have one more question?
Does anything we're discussing in closed session affect this?
No.
No.
Okay, thank you.
We have any
Sorry.
public comment? Threw me with that one. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Any other comment by the board before we Entertain a motion, any other thing we want to ask, any questions?
It's hard to believe it's one day, because nothing ever goes as planned. There's always the unforeseen.
Kurt, could you swear that it's going to be in one day?
No.
I don't control the company.
But they'll be
That's
ready,
why the
they'll be ready by
Friday,
Monday,
Saturday.
right?
They have a quote, and they said they'll do it in one day. We do it on a Friday. If they have a problem, that's their problem. They finish it on Saturday at their cost. Do I have a motion?
I move that we authorize the general manager to enter into a contract to repave the district office parking lot at a cost not to exceed $46,750, which includes the 10% contingency.
Second.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
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 4-1. Okay.
Gesundheit.
Item 10, standing committee reports. Finance committee. Well, we pretty well discussed what we covered at the finance committee. Any other comments, Director Johnson?
I would just like to invite the public to come and see the exciting meetings that we have in the morning as good stimulating conversation, looking at numbers and check ledgers. I guarantee you, you will be amazed.
And we do get into a lot of depth.
We did.
Water resources and operations, Vicki?
We followed the finance committee and got to talk about the parking lot all over again, so that also was an interesting meeting. And our next meeting is November 28th.
Yes. Legislative and public information, Kathleen?
I'd like to begin by drawing everyone's attention to our district council, Phil Granito. Over 3 years ago, you stepped out on faith, a lot of faith, and you volunteered your time to help us with the project. And what you thought was going to be a quick little review of a contract turned into months and months of reviewing back and forth a federal contract on behalf of our native plant program that we started with the National Park. Well, I just want everyone to know today that we are now one of the 5 finalists in the state of California's Aqua Conference competition called the Huell Hauser Best in Blue. It's on conservation and communication. Our project is competing probably with some very big districts, but we are one of the 5 finalists, and the winner is announced at the Aqua Conference on December 1st. And this has been a long journey, and it started with faith and some volunteer help from you, and I thank you and all our partners in the community that have helped this project go forward. The conference, I believe most of the board members are attending. We will also have at this conference an exhibit with our project displayed for people to get more in depth about what we did. And shortly following that announcement, which was just last week, I received another phone call from a different department in Aqua, which is, for those of you who don't know, the Association of California Water Agencies. And they are going to feature us in their November newsletter that goes out to all the organizations. Not because we're a finalist, just because we're great, I guess. But it's a full-page spread in their monthly newsletter that goes out, and they are going to feature us in our projects and things that we are doing as a water district in this rural community. But we're not a small water district, so I guess we're just awesome. So anyway, I wanted to share that great news with everyone here, and thank you again, Gil.
You're welcome, Kathleen. All the praise should go to you, that's for sure.
You had a lot of faith. This project we had no path. We just had a dream. So I thank you because it came true. Also, the volunteers and the docents for the Water District, many of who do work with us on these projects, we will be having on Friday, December 2nd, 10 a.m., our year-end gathering meeting where we kind of launch what's coming up in the new year, projects, things that we will be doing. So if you aren't one of those volunteers but wish to be one of those volunteers, you are certainly more than welcome to attend. And the November conservation outreach, both in our newsletter, those of you who may have received it today in the mail, but also at the farmers market, is on winterizing, saving water through winterizing your property and your pipes to mitigate any breaks. So there's more information on that in the newsletter and online. And thank you very much. And congratulations to everyone that helped us get to this point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Madam President,
Yes.
if I may, this project or whatever that was formulated took root before I was here, and I think it's an excellent national example of cooperation between a water district and the National Park Service. The BLM and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service are also aware of it. All three of those agencies have revegetation programs and could repeat this project nationally, at least in the western United States. Some members of the board were probably involved in that, and
specifically.
and I think it came to fruition not only because of Gil, but because of Kathleen, and because of that work. I'm having a hard time recalling the fellow's name. Who was chief? Who was the vegetation branch?
Josh Hoynes.
Josh Hoynes was instrumental. He's now Chief of Resources in Death Valley National Park. It was supported by Andrea Compton, Chief of Resources. She's now Superintendent at Cabrillo National Park. And you can rest assured that this little program started by Joshua Basin Water District in the National Park, Joshua Tree National Park, the Joshua Tree National Park, will be receiving quite a bit of press at the federal level. Good work.
Excellent job. And I'd like to say, it just fit in so naturally this year. The state of California is looking at communication, and this is an all-volunteer effort, and the work that was done, and really getting out to the community, conservation, and being able to talk to people about issues that are coming up as far as rates because of the conservation, the loss of income, and it's just been a really timely one, and I think that's why we're being recognized. You've done an outstanding job. Thank you. Director reports on meetings attended, comments, and future agenda items.
Gil.
Oh, wait a minute. Yes, moving right along. District General Counsel. I'm going to get us done faster.
Nothing major to report on, but I know there is an interest individually, maybe even collectively on the board about the Little Hoover Commission.
Yes.
That's the state watchdog agency that more or less overviews all municipal services, special districts, fire districts, all kinds of districts. They did have their second meeting last week. Director Unger, I know you and Bob, they're really interested in that. And it's kind of interesting. The focus seems to be, it's kind of a moving agenda for this watchdog group. They're shooting for an April comprehensive report to the state at large. But as you see the agenda moving, it's moving in two areas that are kind of surprising to me. They're really focusing not on water districts, sanitation districts. They're taking real interest in healthcare public agencies. Isn't that interesting to everybody? And they're going to investigate the effectiveness of the healthcare industry. You know, hospitals, all kinds of clinics and stuff like that. And they're also keeping a really strict eye on the public agency response to, at large, the public agency responses to the global warming situation. So those two big things, wow. That looks like where they're going to really focus when they issue their final report in April of next year. And they will have they're going to have another meeting. Their second meeting was last week. They're going to have another meeting in November, and then 2 or 3 after the new year. But the focus is going to be on those two items: public agency healthcare, hospitals at River Healthcare City, and everybody's special districts at large are going to focus on their sensitivity to global warming and what they could do about it.
Wow, it's fascinating.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you remember like 12 years ago when their last report was done, they don't do them out all the time. They usually go in 10-year intervals or something like that. They were focusing mainly on special water districts, and they were really targeted and severely criticized for a lot of things. But they must have been pleased with what's happened in the last 10 years because the focus has changed. I thought that was interesting. I'll pass it on.
Thank you.
Mr. Keith,
General Manager?
short staff report. So it's the first meeting in November, so we're going to report on conservation. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, so in October, we reduced our production levels compared to 2013 by 28.48%. And cumulatively, we're at 18.21%. Our voluntary conservation target is 20%. We've been keeping the word going at the farmers market and in our monthly mailings. There is considerable discussion by the State Water Resource Control Board about, and newspaper articles about, water districts are sliding in their conservation, and water districts have seemed to give up on conservation, and there is discussion about returning to mandatory conservation targets. And Aqua is actively trying to work with the state government to get the right word out that, yes, it's not an emergency, but it is a way of life that needs to be incorporated. And I think that a cumulative savings of 18% since June is right up there. I mean, I think last year we were at 23%. So, and I look at some of these figures from July of 2013, where there was 201 acre-feet produced, and now it's down to 164 acre-feet. So, of course, it's a double-edged sword. The conservation is important, protection of the aquifer is important, revenues are also important. So we need to keep that in mind. And we can just leave that up there because, unlike all of you, I get to stare at these for long periods of time and absorb all of the exciting. These slides are almost as exciting as Bob's finance committee. And the other thing is not so much a report, but I need to schedule a time this coming week for a special board meeting concerning union negotiations. It would be a closed session. And I'm going to suggest November 9th, which is Wednesday. And I would like to do it during the day because it's going to be more than a 45-minute session. So I don't know if that works with all of your schedules, but if we could do it during the day, and Steve Berliner would be coming out for the meeting. So I'm suggesting November 9th at 2 p.m.
That works for me.
Yep.
Is that a late lunch?
It could be, we'll have cookies.
Late snack.
Mike, does that work?
Should.
Great.
Oh, you want
Yeah,
director's
does that work for
reports?
you?
Oh, it works for me, yes.
Works for you, okay.
Okay.
And it's just a closed session?
Yeah.
Or you want to make a board meeting? No, I guess it's 2 o'clock. Sorry.
The purpose is, if something else comes up, we can get it noticed and folks would know about it, but right now it's
Okay.
just a session to deal with union negotiations.
Got it.
So that will be at 2 o'clock.
2 p.m. on November 9th.
Anything else in the general manager report?
No, ma'am.
All right. Item 13, future director meetings and training opportunities. ASBCSD, Hilton Garden Inn, Victor Valley.
That's me.
Director Reynolds. Mojave Water Agency Board of Directors meeting November 17th.
That will be Director Johnson. I'm going to switch with him. I'm going to go to Mojave tomorrow, and Bob will take over on the 17th for me.
Excellent. And in the Aqua in Anaheim, I think that's supposed to be over there.
I have a comment on the Aqua. Perhaps it was an oversight, but I don't recall any correspondence between myself and staff regarding attending Aqua. Maybe it's that I'm going to be the lame duck, but it is my desire to attend.
Okay, we'll make sure. I'm pretty sure that we contacted all 5 directors, but
Perhaps it was an oversight and I didn't see the email, but I definitely do desire to attend.
we'll contact you tomorrow.
Well, thank you.
and I think that went out way back in June.
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
May, actually.
Was it that?
either May or
Barbara, you're not
June.
going?
It was a long time ago. Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah, it was a long time
Oh,
ago.
good, so we'll be there. Director reports on meetings attended, comments, future agenda items.
Had a webinar here, put on by Aqua, and I'm really happy that we have them to advocate for us. It was about an update of what's going on at the state level, water resources, and it wasn't really encouraging. It was kind of disturbing, and I could tell they were not happy with what's going on in the state. They feel there's opacity there and not transparency. And hard to get an answer out of them. So it was a very interesting webinar, and a lot of things were discussed, but that was a big takeaway. And then was pleased to attend the Mojave Water Agency at Copper Mountain College last week. It was a really nice celebration. I mean, there was a serious part of the meeting as well, but a nice a celebration for the partnership between Joshua Basin, Mojave, Copper Mountain College, recognizing people who had worked on so many things and such.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also attended the Copper Mountain meeting, and it was quite impressive with the landscaping. And if you haven't been over to the college lately, you really need to take a look. Once again, our finance meetings are rolling along, and I'm encouraging each and one to be aware of what's going on in the district in terms of our finances and where we're moving. And the last board member, Gil, I think you mentioned AB 401, 408?
814
814?
and SB 7.
About the low income and fixed income. Sorry, I'm still.
That's another bill.
Yes, yes. I'm still pursuing that, and part of the read on this legislation is that they're actually out there soliciting ideas for how we can do this internally. So we've been bantering that about at the meetings, and I'd just like to throw it out to the general public. If you have some ideas on how we as a district can address the issue with our low-income folks and our fixed-income folks with water rates and their water bills, please, call the district, get a hold of me, and I'll bring it to the finance meeting, because we are going in that cycle with the budgetary reviews, and I'd like to have some ammunition, if I may.
Thank you.
I also attended the webinar and the groundbreaking ceremony for High Desert Water District. And it was interesting, and looks like they're going to get a new sewer pretty soon.
Yeah, actually, lots of big shots at the groundbreaking. As a matter of fact, there wasn't a politician in the area that wasn't there. They were all there. So that was very, very interesting. I think the takeaway message actually out of the Aqua teleconference was that we will be in a state of drought probably forever. Certainly in the desert we will be. The absolute emergency and needing a pail in your shower and not flushing your toilet, we're probably a little beyond that. What we have to do is work at something that you can live with for the rest of time, because water conservation is going to be a way of life. And I thought it was really very well done. And I'm not going to really talk about this, but there was an editorial in the LA Times. It's entitled, "Why Are We Sending Precious Water Downstream for Fish in the Middle of a Drought? Here's Why." And it's actually fascinating, because it talks about the importance of these species that we're saying we shouldn't be sending water out to the ocean. Well, there's a reason why that's a very important thing that we need to do it, not only for the fishermen, but the value of the fish, and that they are their little bodies are the things that have made our farms so fertile up there, because they're eaten and disposed of all over the place, and that makes it very fertile farmland. So it was very nice. It was on October 22nd, if anybody wants to know. It was really well done. Or you can have this, because it's beautifully written.
Thank you. Yeah, I also went to the Copper Mountain College Mojave meeting, and if anyone hasn't made it out there to look at their desert-wise planting, absolutely worthwhile. And they're continuing to work on it. They have plans to put little paths through the areas and benches out there to encourage students to be able to sit there and enjoy the gardening. It's a gorgeous area. So, other than that, not too bad timing-wise. We're going to go into closed session, a conference with the district's real property negotiator. Any comments?
I think there may want to be some public
Yes.
comment.
Did you want to make a public comment? Okay. Good comment.
Al Marquez, Sun Fair Community. I noticed that there's 6 parcels across the street here between Park Avenue and Veterans Way that the district is contemplating on purchasing. I presume that these parcels that the district wants to purchase would probably be for the new offices if they build some new offices. I kind of question why they'd have to buy those properties when they have quite a bit of property over here that they could expand the offices if they need to. The bottom line is that the assessed value of all 6 of these properties comes out to approximately 53,000, well, I'll just round it off to $54,000 of the 6 parcels. So if the board does decide to purchase these properties, which I don't know why they should, but if they do, I hope they don't spend more than what these values, these properties are valued at. Because I remember back when they put in the recharge ponds, that value of those 32 acres or whatever it is over there for the recharge ponds, they were assessed at $63,000, but yet the district paid $193,000 for those parcels. So I would imagine if you discuss this, I hope you would think about if you do purchase them at the value of the property, not anything more. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none,
Is there going to be a report after the closed session?
well,
It'll be very generic.
we're not looking for any report. So, anything else? We are at 7:23. We are adjourned to the closed session.
Let's just go.